Hi everyone, my name is Courtney and welcome back to my channel. Like a lot of people right now, I am very invested in replaying Stardew. If you don't know, Stardew is a farming sim that was lovingly created and inspired by Harvest Moon and a lot of the old farming style video games that we grew up with in the early 2000s. A lot of games have tried to emulate Stardew, some to greater success than others, but Stardew is kind of the cream of the crop of farming sims because it's not just a farming sim. There's so much to do. There's so much story and lore. It's so creative and fun. I've been playing since 2018. I normally play on my Switch, but I did originally buy it on Steam, and with 1.6 coming out and not being able to play the new version on my Switch, I went back to my laptop and was like, hey, I still have my Steam account, I still have this downloaded and bought, I might as well play the new version, and I've been sucked in. Stardew had me thinking a lot about what books I would recommend for different characters, and also had me thinking, are there any books that remind me of Stardew that give me those same feelings? I feel like the perfect cottagecore farming sim book has not been written yet, but I'm still holding out for that. Here are my recommendations. First, we're going to start with things I would recommend for Stardew lovers, and then we'll get into the bachelors and bachelorettes and kind of what I would recommend for people who like these characters or people who relate to these characters or people who like to romance these characters, something along those veins. And because I am mostly a sci-fi fantasy reader, most of these are going to be sci-fi fantasy picks. So for people that just love Stardew, I have a couple recommendations. For movies, slice of life anime and cozy anime come to mind first, and there are a lot of great picks for that. But there are two things that come to mind which I think are perfect picks. The first one is going to be the anime or manga Mushishi. This is about a world, I believe it's 1920s, but it's like Japan has been closed off and has never opened itself to immigration and trade. It might be 1940s, but it's somewhere in that kind of era, and it's basically about this traveling apothecary slash doctor kind of figure, and he is traveling around fixing these problems in the rural countryside of Japan, and it has to do with these mythical, it's somewhere between mythical spirit monster kind of a thing. Most of the time they're just kind of these things, spirits that kind of just exist, but sometimes they cause problem for humans. Beautiful, it kind of has a bittersweet melancholy air to it. I think it's perfect for Stardew lovers. And the other thing I thought about was this movie called Little Forest. It is originally inspired by a manga, which I have not read, but the movie is a K-drama. I think it is a movie, but it's a Korean movie. It's sweet, it's cozy, it's slice of life. It's basically about this young woman who is traveling back to her mother's house after not being in contact with her for a really long time. And she lives in a very rural, poor area. She has to run a farm basically to survive. It's just kind of her dealing with life. It's just an excellent movie. I do want to read the manga at some point, but excellent vibe kind of farming movie. For other kind of slice of life, slower character driven books, I have to go with the Tea Dragon Society, of course. This is about a world where people can raise these dragons who grow tea, and it's a beautifully illustrated comic by Kay O'Neill. The characters are going through stuff, they're learning stuff, but a lot of it is just like sweet story in this really interesting world. Along those same lines, cozy vibes, slice of life vibes, I have Witch Hat Altair Kitchen. Witch Hat Altair Kitchen. So this is the spin-off of the original Witch Hat series, which I would recommend, and you kind of have to read this, but Witch Hat Altair is about this young girl who lives in a world where magic exists, where witches exist, and she kind of gets pulled into this plot even though regular mundane people should not be in the world of witches. And Witch Hat Kitchen is the kind of spin-off slice of life moments that are kind of happening between the main plot, and it's like it said, kitchen, it's foraging, it's magical plants, it's cooking, it's sweet, and it's such a reprieve from the main story. I love the main story, but like the vibes in this are so good. And then if you kind of want a real life book about foraging and nature, I would recommend Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmer. This is a part memoir, part science book, part ecology, environmental studies, and it is excellent. It was one of my favorite books of last year, and I highly recommend it. It's like scientific stuff, but it's also just about growing up and living and teaching. It is partial memoir. It's really good. So those are my recommendations for Stardew lovers. I know Stardew is a lot of like time management, and it's not not just the farming, it's not just the cozy. It can be pretty stressful at times, but those are like the kind of books that I think of for playing Stardew because, you know, we want an escape. We want to kind of escape city kind of life. So yes, there are a lot of stressful things in Stardew, but like that's why we're coming to Stardew. It's for the vibes, the coziness, the slower pace, the slice of life. So let's get into the bachelors, what I would recommend people who like these bachelors, what I would recommend to the bachelors and bachelorettes themselves. And I'm also going to give my opinion on the bachelors because I do have certain thoughts about them. So the first bachelor we're going to cover is Alex. I think in a lot of ways people see him as kind of like the boring bro, if you're very generous, himbo kind of character. I've never hated Alex. I like him. Obviously he has his flaws, but he kind of learns through his story and we kind of reveal some of his fears about being perfect, about being successful. But I've never been super drawn to marrying him, but I feel very neutral about Alex. But for Alex, I would recommend the book Icebreaker. It's a sporty coming of age story with a little of romance. I know especially when you play Alex as a gay character, there is a very interesting storyline that happens there because, you know, it's him realizing kind of stuff about himself. And I feel like this book fits into that. But also the main character is a perfectionist. He just wants to be successful so bad that he's like pushing people away and being mean to people, being obstinate. And I feel like that fits Alex's vibe a little bit. But still, it's sporty, it's fun, but it has coming of age-ness, learning stuff that I think would connect with Alex lovers. And then I think finishing up the non-sci-fi fantasy reads, we have to go with Haley next. Haley's kind of blowing up right now on TikTok because people are connecting her to the popular Chapel Ronan song right now. And I personally love Haley. I have never romanced her because we'll get to who I normally romance, but I love Haley. I think she is one of my favorite bachelors. She's definitely like in my top 3 of people I would choose, but just never get to because of loyalty weirdness. I really like Haley. I love the vibes of like the blonde cheerleader, kind of stuck up princessy type, kind of learning that she doesn't need to be so serious and she doesn't need to be so mean to people and that, you know, she is gay. I love that kind of character. I know it's not to everybody's taste, but it is to my taste. And I feel like the perfect book for Haley and Haley lovers is Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail by Ashley Herring Blake. Astrid Parker is coming to terms with her queerness by falling in love with a woman for the first time. I personally think that Astrid Parker should have gone all the way and made her a lesbian, but does at least learn that she's bi and, you know, she is dating a woman. But in this book, it is rom-com, it is slice of life, it is Astrid Parker type A, trying to be successful, trying to do what everybody expects and wants her to do. And at the same time, she is designing a remodel for this house for a TV show that is up and coming, and the carpenter that she's working with, one of the owners of this house, she is butting heads with and possibly falling in love with. But yes, it's rom-com, it's high angst, it's messy characters, which I feel like just, it fits Haley's vibe. Especially like the Chapel Ronan Haley vibe of like messy queerness, there's that. The next character I have is Leah. Leah is another character to me that I really like. I like her vibes. She's like an artist, cottagecore girly in the woods, dealing with past emotional trauma, trying to find herself. She's another character like Haley that I've never romanced, but would definitely be in the top 3 people that I would romance. But, you know, she's trying to escape. She's trying to get a break. She's trying to figure herself out. And so for her, I would pick A Psalm for the Wild Built. I picked up the second book, A Prayer for the Crown Shy, because this really gets into characters trying to figure out what they want to do in life. But I feel like this would be perfect for Leah. It's eco-science future, but it's mostly just like characters going around, traveling, kind of having a self-discovery journey, figuring out what they want in life. I love this series and I feel like it's a perfect fit for Leah lovers as well as Leah herself. The next candidate I have is Elliot. Elliot, I don't hate him. I can see why people like him, but he is just not for me. To me, he gives me too many MFA dude vibes, and as someone who, you know, has their MFA, did the program, like, I've just been surrounded by too many MFA people that I'm just like, it's a personal thing of why I don't like Elliot, is what I'm saying. Like, technically done nothing wrong, he just gives me that vibe. So I had to pick something a little bit pretentious, a little bit hoity-toity, a little bit more literary leaning for him. And so for that, I picked up Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. I would pick either of Ted Chiang's short story collection, but, you know, this has great technical writing. There's a carefulness, there's a precision here. It's short stories, it's literary leaning, so there is a little bit of the pretension factor, but I think these stories are also just really, really good. And again, I can't say anything, because I am one one of those MFA people. But I feel like any speculative short story collection would be perfect for Elliot because, again, it has the experimentalness, it has the craft, the writing, the creativity that I think he would be drawn to. So if you're an Elliot lover, you like a little bit of flair, you like a little bit of literary leaning stuff, I would highly recommend this short story collection, or honestly just anything in that speculative short story realm. I think it'll really surprise you. The next pick I have is for Harvey. Again, Harvey, like Elliot, is just not my personal vibe. He is not somebody that I would personally ever romance. At his best, people kind of see Harvey as misunderstood again. I see a lot of people giving Harvey the Hosier treatment. Personally, I don't see that. I think he's more of a Newton Pulsifer type character from Good Omens, just kind of sweet, bumbling, nerdy kind of guy. And for that sweetness, I wanted to pick something that I felt like he would enjoy. A story of hope, a story of people coming together, a story of community. And so for this, I picked Station 11 by St. John Mandel. This is one of my favorite sci-fi leaning literary novels. It's about learning and surviving, and sometimes facing dangerous stuff and scary stuff. So I feel like Harvey could like this. Harvey lovers might also enjoy this. The next character we have is Maru. She is our scientist. She's someone that I always just want to be like best friends with. She was never somebody I was drawn to romance, mostly because I felt like more sister friend vibes from her. Out of all the Stardew characters, she is like the one that I feel like I could be friends with in real life. She's got her hobby, she's got her interests. I feel like she's very cute and I like her. And if you like Maru, I feel like you won't be afraid of a hard-hitting book. Maru specifically, I feel like she'd want her fantasy and sci-fi to have a lot of substance, a lot of lore, a lot of discovery. I feel like she's definitely a reader who needs a challenge. She's definitely a reader who likes to uncover things and work for it. And while this book goes from, I would say, more sci-fi leaning in the first book to very more fantastical in the third one, I feel like this is still a good pick for Maru, and that would be the 5th season or the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. This is like my all-time favorite fantasy book ever, but again, it's challenging, it'll make you think, it would be a different read every time you read this, there's more to discover, there is like that science-y bit in there, there's lots of things to piece together. I feel like this is perfect for Maru specifically, but also hopefully some Maru lovers out there. The next character I have is Sam. Sam is very similar to Maru for me, where I'm like, I like him, I like his vibe, I want to be friends with him, but I don't know if I would ever romance him. He's like a typical skater dude. His best friend is Sebastian, which I think they personally have something going on there, but he's cute, he's fun, I like him. He specifically gives off like ADHD kid vibes, where he needs something that will keep his interest, something that's fast-paced. He wants something that's cool, but also he pretends this coolness on the outside, but he needs something that's also a little more sensitive, and I feel like this would be the perfect book for him. All Systems Red by Martha Wells. It's got the action, it's got the adventure, it's got the sci-fi-ness. It's short, so he'll be able to get through it, but it's also a good time. And again, there's like a little more sensitive, softer edge to it that I think he will pretend he doesn't need, but really does. The next character we have is Sebastian. When I initially started playing Stardew, started watching people play Stardew, preparing to play Stardew, because I prepare to play my video games, Sebastian was the character I thought I was going to romance. He's the dark, edgy, moody, nerdy kid, but the more I got to know him, the more I could not romance him. He just desperately wants to leave the valley so badly. I'm like, I can't marry you, you're gonna be stuck here forever and be unhappy. So I never picked him. Also, again, he has kind of a thing with Sam in my opinion, maybe a little bit with Abigail, and I don't want to interrupt that, but I do like Sebastian. Obviously, he's like my type of person that I would be friends with, and when I was originally playing Stardew, it was like everybody dated Sebastian, everybody went for him, and now I feel like Harvey, Elliot, some of the other bachelors and bachelorettes are a little bit more popular, but Sebastian has always been like the OG for people. And Sebastian, he likes D&D, he likes fantasy, he likes the nerdy stuff, but I feel like he also likes the technical side of things. He wants a little bit of action adventure, he wants stakes, and so for him, I picked up Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett. It's high action, high adventure, it's got the characters, it's got the lore, it's got the magic system and all of that, but it is like action plot first, and I feel like he will appreciate that. as well as like the lore and the magic that goes along with it. I love this series. It's really, really fun. Highly recommend. The 5th book is absolutely exceptional. And if you're just nerdy and want a really good fantasy series and you haven't read this, I feel like you should definitely give this a try. Next bachelor we have is Shane. I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this. Yes, Shane is the person I normally choose to marry. And there's a couple reasons for this. I do like Shane. I like his storyline. I feel like he gets a lot more hate than he should. A lot of people hate on Shane because once you marry him, he's still kind of struggling, but like, that's the reality of being depressed. That's the reality of like having alcoholism or different things that are going on. Like, it's not going to be a straight road to betterness. I don't know. People just give him a hard time, and I like him, okay? I like his story, I like him with the chickens, I like him with his niece. It's a journey, you know, he learns. But the main reason I pick Shane is because a lot of the other bachelor and bachelorettes do not want to be in Stardew. They want to leave, and I just feel so mean marrying them and keeping them imprisoned in Stardew in case they want to realize their goals and dreams. Shane, however, he needs somebody, he needs help. I will say, when I play Stardew, I never allow myself to have kids, so there's that. You know, Shane and I are just taking care of each other. We don't need anything else in the mix. So that's why I pick Shane. I do like him, but also I feel like it's not the fixer in me, okay? I've never been in a relationship, so I can't want to fix people. It's really because he's the only character I don't feel bad about shackling to Stardew. But I do like him. I do like his story. He's complex. He's nuanced. If you like Shane, you want a main character that's complex, but also like not afraid to deal with unlikable characters. You're not afraid to deal with characters that are making bad decisions. And so for this, I have to pick the Robin Hobb series or the Assassin's Apprentice. I've only read this first trilogy, but yes, Fitz can be very frustrating, very annoying, very hard to deal with, but the world that Robin Hobb creates, the way that she utilizes the characters is so well done. The consequences that characters go through because of their different choices is so excellently crafted. If you're not afraid of good, solid character work, complex, nuanced characters, flawed characters, then you're not going to be afraid of Robin Hobb. You're going to enjoy it. But there's enough escapism, there's enough fantasy. I feel like it's just the perfect fit for Shane himself to read. He would enjoy it. He would get a good, relaxing time out of it. But also, there's substance here. The next candidate we have is Emily. Emily is just not my girl. She's not for me. She's just a little too crystal girly, a little too woohoo for me personally. But I understand why you would like her. But for Emily, she wants a book with vibes over anything else. She doesn't necessarily need to know all the answers at the end of a book. She's just there for a good time. She wants something a little weird, something a little off. And so for her, I picked Catherine House. I feel like she would prefer more of like a happy-go-lucky kind of weird book. This might not be quite off the rails enough for her. I feel like this is a good choice. Again, not everything is answered. It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit wacky. It's definitely vibes over all else. I feel like she would appreciate this, at least for some good spooky vibes. But Catherine House is about a young woman who goes to high school, college, and it's just something weird's going on there. She can't quite figure it out. It's slowly peeling back the layers of this university. The next bachelorette we have is Abigail. So Abigail is never a character I would personally romance. If she was a real life person, I feel like I would be friends with her. There was just a vibe, especially in early Stardew, of the kind of people, specifically men, who went to romance Abigail. It's very like gamer, retriever, boyfriend kind of guy going after goth girlfriend, but like rancid. You know, not the cute version of that, the rancid version of that. So like Abigail at her worst is like pick me, I'm different, goth girlfriend, and at best she is just like nerdy, wants a little bit of adventure, doesn't really fit in with the rest of Stardew kind of vibe. Depending on how you read her, she can kind of go either direction. But outside of how people view her, you know, in game I like her. She's fine, but I would never romance her. Abigail, she wants adventure, wants action. I feel like she can deal with unlikable characters, angsty characters. She definitely wants a strong female lead, and so for her I picked The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed. It's got the action adventure, it's got folklore, it's got quest vibes. It's about a young woman discovering herself, going on this fantasy quest, getting out of this village that doesn't see her or respect her. I just feel like she would have a good time with this. She would get it. And so lastly, for our Stardew bachelors, we have Penny, who is the teacher. Penny to me has always given just, I just want to say, generic vibes. There's nothing wrong with her. She's sweet, but she's just never somebody I would romance just because in the end, Penny wants family. She wants an escape from, especially from her lifestyle. She wants success, but she's not afraid of living in Stardew and staying a teacher there, I don't think. She's the type of person I feel like actually does want to settle down in life, but she wants adventure. She wants cuteness, softness in her books. And so for her, I went with the most cottagecore vibe that I could think of because I feel like she would appreciate that. And that would be Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is like good escapist, soft, cozy fantasy with a little bit of action, a little bit of danger. Basically, it is about this young woman, Emily Wilde. It's kind of turn of the century, 1900s, and she is an academic scholar who is researching fairies. She goes up to, I believe, like Norway, Arctic Circle kind of area to discover these fairies and their folklore, and her academic rival travels along with her, which she does not appreciate, and they kind of have a back and forth kind of vibe with them. And it's cute, it's fun, it's escapist, it's got the epistolary diary entry kind of storytelling style. I feel like Penny would have a good time with this, and I feel like Penny lovers want good vibes in Stardew, so I feel like they would enjoy this. And for my bonus answer, I'm going to be covering Krobus. Krobus is my choice to romance this turnaround. So basically Krobus is this little shadowy guy in the sewers that you can be friends with and have as a roommate. So it's like the option if you don't want to have a marriage in Stardew. And I've always been intrigued by having Krobus as my roommate. I've always kind of wanted to do it, but just like felt like I should pick an actual marriage candidate. But this time around, you know, it's really hard because I am feeling very drawn to Leah and Haley this time around. I feel like I kind of want to pick one of them, but I told myself I'm going into this, I'm going to do a Krobus run, so I'm really excited for that. But yes, Krobus is like the roommate character that you can have a strong friendship with and basically invite to come live with you if you do not feel inclined to have romance. And so for Krobus, like the obvious choice is to go with something ace or arrow ace. If you're picking Krobus, you don't necessarily want romance, but you want community, you want friendship, you want fun. Think I have to pick another Becky Chambers, Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. There's a little bit of romance in this one. The second one, which is my favorite, has a lot less romance. I would definitely recommend that one as well. But this is about a crew who are out on this space mission. It's a little bit out of their depth for what they usually do, and there's a new crew member on board, so it's like a lot of adjustment, a lot of coming together, figuring stuff out. It's slice of life, but there's action, fantasy, plot stuff going on, sci-fi heavy, sci-fi funness. And yes, there is a little bit of romance, but it's just about the crew becoming close to one another, figuring them out, coming together and doing this thing. And I love it. I love Becky Chambers. Love her vibes. Feel like this is perfect for a Krobus lover. Let me know what you would pick for people that like certain characters, or what you would tell an actual candidate, what you would tell them to read. I would love to know. I feel like a lot of the Stardew candidates would definitely lean more into the literary or fiction genre versus sci-fi fantasy, but that's my area of expertise, so that's what I had to go with. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you are enjoying playing Stardew if you are playing the new 1.6 version, but thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys later, and happy reading!